He then yanks a hemp rope out from inside the hole and tosses it carelessly onto the ground. What he fails to notice is that the rope has several talismans tied to it, paper charms used to ward off evil spirits. The man then carries a woman over to the wall. He stuffs her body through the hole, then bricks the wall back up. As it turns out, the man and the dead woman were husband and wife, but after their marriage, he fell in love with another woman. So he heartlessly murdered his wife, and brought her body here to dispose of the evidence. Just as the man is about to leave with his mistress, something eerie happens. From behind the freshly sealed wall comes the agonizing cry of his wife. At first, the man assumes she wasn't completely dead, so he musters his courage and approaches the wall to check. The scene shifts. Lisa and her family are bringing her mother-in-law, who suffers from memory loss, back to the old family home. On the surface, Lisa wants her mother-in-law to recuperate in familiar surroundings, but in reality, she's hiding a secret she can't bring herself to share. You see, Lisa once had an adorable little son, but during a family outing one day, Lisa had an urgent work matter to deal with, so she had no choice but to leave her child temporarily in her mother-in-law's care. When Lisa came back after handling her work, her son had vanished without a trace. All that remained was her dazed mother-in-law, sitting alone in a chair. From that moment on, Lisa searched for her son day and night, but no matter how hard she tried, the child seemed to have vanished into thin air, not a single lead. With no other options, Lisa pinned her hopes on her mother-in-law. After all, she was the only one who witnessed the entire disappearance firsthand. To help her mother-in-law recover her memory, Lisa deliberately brought her back to the old family home, hoping the familiar environment might help cure her condition. The first few days in the countryside were uneventful. That is, until Lisa happened to run into a young sister and brother. After a brief conversation, Lisa learned that the two children had lost their pet dog and had come to ask for help. While Lisa was getting the details from the older sister, the younger brother suddenly called out his sister's name. He pointed down a narrow path, saying he could hear their pet barking from inside. The two children cautiously made their way through a stretch of woods, ignoring the no-entry warning on an iron gate up ahead. They finally reached the spot where the barking was coming from, and it turned out to be the very place where the man from the opening had hidden the body. Thinking the dog might be hiding inside the hole, the sister gathered her courage and peered in. In a fleeting glance, she caught a glimpse of a strange figure lurking in the corner. Just as she leaned in for a closer look, an arm suddenly shot out from the darkness and yanked her inside. Fortunately, whatever was in there didn't seem to want to hurt her. The girl quickly crawled back out unharmed and immediately told Lisa what had happened. Lisa rushed to the hole with her husband Jack. While Jack was carefully examining the inside, something nearby caught Lisa's attention. It was an ordinary-looking mirror. The only strange thing about it was that it was completely wrapped in tape. Faced with this puzzling sight, Lisa didn't think much of it. She simply peeled off the tape. Then, through the mirror's reflection, she unexpectedly spotted a little girl who had appeared in the woods at some point without anyone noticing. Driven by curiosity, Lisa couldn't help but walk up to the girl and ask why she was out here all alone. But the little girl seemed terrified of strangers. Her eyes stayed guarded, and her body kept shrinking back in fear. Just then, the children's screams erupted from the direction of the cave. Hearing the commotion, Lisa had no choice but to leave the little girl where she was and rush back to check. Over there, Jack had already climbed inside the cave and was standing frozen beside an iron door. A violent banging had suddenly come from behind it. It sounded like someone was trapped inside. Putting rescue first, Jack wrenched the iron door open. The incident quickly drew the attention of local police, but when they tried to question Lisa about what happened, she was visibly impatient. The reason Lisa resented the police so much was simple. After all these years, they still hadn't helped her find her child. That night, Lisa was startled by frantic knocking at the door. When she went to check, she was shocked to see the same little girl from earlier that day. Looking at the girl's filthy appearance, Lisa immediately brought her inside and carefully cleaned her up. At first, Lisa assumed the girl was a mute, but then, when her daughter Lily called out "Mama," the girl miraculously repeated the word. Lisa was stunned. She rushed over and asked the girl what her name was. To her utter disbelief, the girl's name was also Lily. Looking at the girl's innocent and lively face, Lisa couldn't help but feel a pang of compassion. She didn't report the girl to the police right away. Instead, she let the girl stay in her home on her own accord. Little did she know, this well-intentioned decision would mark the beginning of a terrifying nightmare. In the dead of night, Lily silently crept out of bed and made her way straight to Grandma's room. The eerie experience that night caused a dramatic change in the old woman's behavior. She began frequently hearing her dead brother calling her name in her ear. The voice seemed to come from deep inside her own mind. The tormented old woman could only clutch at her head in agony. The next day, while tidying up the house, Lisa discovered the entire room had been trashed. What's more, both Lily and her mother-in-law had vanished. Lisa eventually found Lily hiding inside the bedroom wardrobe. Before she could even ask what had happened, her mother-in-law suddenly appeared as if possessed, viciously lunging at her with a knife. Terrified by this sudden attack, Lisa grabbed Lily and fled to the storeroom. Thanks to the heavy door's protection, Lisa and Lily narrowly escaped with their lives. Later, Lisa found Lily inside an iron cage in the storeroom. The girl was curled up in the corner, trembling, clutching a shard of glass in her shaking hands, pointing it at Lisa as if facing an enemy. Seeing Lily's terrified state, guilt crashed over Lisa like a tidal wave. Ignoring the sharp glass in the girl's hand, she slowly approached her, then pulled her into a tight embrace. Perhaps it was only in that moment that all of Lily's defenses finally melted away, but the horror was far from over. That night, the old woman once again heard that demonic calling. This time, however, the voice wasn't coming from inside her head, it was coming from the tape-covered mirror beside her. In truth, the old woman had sealed that mirror long ago, but that afternoon, Jack had wandered into her room. When he noticed the taped-up mirror, he didn't understand its purpose and casually peeled away a small section. At first, the old woman fought against the voice in the mirror with sheer willpower, but as the temptation grew stronger and stronger, her mental defenses finally collapsed completely. Guided by the voice, she lost control of herself and walked out the door, then stumbled her way into that terrifying cave. It wasn't until the next morning that Lisa and Jack realized the old woman was missing. Despite launching an immediate search, they couldn't find any trace of her. After searching for a while longer, Jack suddenly had a realization. He was drawn involuntarily toward the mirror. The moment he crouched down, several drops of yellow liquid seeped out from inside the mirror. Seeing this, Jack ripped off all the remaining tape. After witnessing something so inexplicable, Jack couldn't help but suspect that all of this was connected to the girl. With that suspicion in mind, Jack sought out the girl and demanded she take him to find his mother. Jack was gone for an entire day, and he hadn't told Lisa about his decision. Left with no other choice, Lisa sought out a local shaman. The shaman told Lisa that the entity haunting them was called a mimic spirit, an evil being capable of imitating human voices to bewitch people's minds. This type of evil spirit had a great many followers in the area. Among them was a wicked shaman named York, whose devotion to the mimic spirit had reached fanatical levels. To obtain a purer form of the mimic spirit's power, York went so far as to offer his own daughter as a sacrifice and successfully gained the mimic spirit's power. From that point on, York's daughter became the mimic spirit's accomplice. Her job was to lure and get close to the people living in the area. Once her mission was accomplished, the vicious and brutal York would emerge from the mirror and ruthlessly take every person's life. After hearing the shaman's account, Lisa gradually pieced everything together. The girl she had been carrying for these past few days was York's daughter. Perhaps because of their blood connection, the girl also possessed some of the wicked shaman's abilities. No wonder, when the girl first came to her house, she had mimicked her daughter's voice and called her mama. The shaman then told Lisa that York, despite all his evil deeds, had actually been sealed away for a period of time. But when that wife-murdering man broke into the cave, the seal was completely shattered, and York was released once again. Furthermore, because Lisa had kindly taken the girl into her home, the next target of attack would most likely be Lisa's closest family members. Lisa trembled with fear at these words, because right now, her daughter was home all alone. Without a moment's hesitation, she bolted toward home as fast as she could. Meanwhile, the horror was already unfolding on Lily's end. She was suddenly awakened from a deep sleep by a voice. It sounded just like her mother calling her name. Completely unsuspecting, she followed the voice downstairs and stopped in front of the bathroom door where the sound was coming from. After a frantic escape, Lily could only hide inside the iron cage in the storeroom. That's when the girl, who had been missing for a long time, suddenly appeared. She was holding a sharp blade in her hand, slowly approaching Lily step by step. But thankfully, she meant Lily no harm. She simply protected her gently, holding out until Lisa made it back home. After such a harrowing ordeal, Lisa decided to lay all her cards on the table with the girl. She told her she already knew the girl's true identity, and hoped that for the sake of the time they'd spent together, the girl would take her to find Jack and her mother-in-law. The girl didn't object. She simply asked Lisa in a very quiet voice, would she always stay by her side? Lisa nodded without a moment's hesitation. And so, after making sure Lily was safe, the two of them headed straight for that terrifying cave without looking back. To Lisa's surprise, inside the cave there was a staircase leading to somewhere unknown. Hand in hand, they descended. Below, they found themselves in a cavern filled with jagged, grotesque rocks. just as Lisa was nervously making her way forward. She was horrified to discover that her vision seemed to be deteriorating rapidly. The world before her eyes turned into a blur. Lisa knew exactly what was happening. The mimic spirit was casting its dark power on her, but she felt no fear. She forced herself to stay upright and scanned her surroundings. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed from a corner. It was the voice of the son she had been longing for over 5 years. In that instant, Lisa completely lost control of her emotions and began screaming toward the sound. But as her voice rang out, the corner fell eerily silent. After a desperate, reckless sprint, Lisa finally reached a relatively safe spot. But before she could even catch her breath, something even more terrifying happened. The area was filled with mirrors of all shapes and sizes. From nearly every single one, voices were speaking harsh, cutting words, relentlessly blaming Lisa for losing her son. Under this relentless assault of demonic voices, Lisa's mind became scattered and she lost her sense of direction. Without realizing it, she drifted right up to one of the mirrors. Just as the mimic spirit was about to pull her in, Jack appeared in the nick of time and narrowly saved her life. Jack then began smashing the mirrors in a frenzy. Remarkably, as this one mirror began to crack, all the other mirrors also became covered in dense webs of fractures. Even York, who had been so arrogant moments ago, now wore a look of sheer terror. This sight made everything click for Lisa. As long as they destroyed the mirrors, they would be striking at the mimic spirit's fatal weakness. As the cracks spread further and further across the mirror's surface, the frenzied York finally revealed his true form. 2 rows of white fur rapidly sprouted across his face, making him look like some kind of mutated tiger. He lunged at Lisa and Jack with reckless abandon, seemingly trying to drag them both down to hell with him in his final moments. Fortunately, Lisa and Jack used their size advantage to dodge York's attacks, and just like that, amid furious howls and anguished wails, York disintegrated into a cloud of black mist as the mirror shattered completely. With the crisis over, Jack was ready to take Lisa and leave immediately. As for the girl crying beside them, he simply ignored her. At first, Lisa was prepared to leave with Jack and return to the modern world, but just as she was about to step out, the promise she had made to the girl suddenly echoed in her mind. In that moment, Lisa could no longer turn her back on the girl. She resolutely let go of Jack's hand and walked back into the cave without looking back. Perhaps it was in this moment that Lisa truly confronted what was in her heart. She would rather remain immersed in the illusion of having found her son again and live in that happiness forever. This film was never just a simple horror movie. It uses folklore and ghost stories to explore every facet of human nature. The film also teaches us that true liberation doesn't come from making up for past regrets. It comes from learning to make peace with those regrets. Let go of the silent past. Cherish the warmth right in front of you. Only by refusing to be held hostage by obsession can we find the most powerful force against all the darkness in this world.